Why do you look so serious?
Okay. 4, 5. No, the bum is not my version.
Let's do this first.
Huh?
You just tie your fingers on
Yeah, what about it?
You still have to
Regardless, either way,
Mr. Bob, like, I want to go. That phone company got this for me.
on the umbrella. That's easy to go through. Like, I don't,
Oh, 4 to 10, like,
no,
why
I
the
didn't-
lowest of the lowest?
I didn't do it because it's
Okay,
for some reason.
I didn't put negative.
That's me too, that's me too. Like, I didn't do it because it's too slow.
Stupidity, DeAndre. How about that?
Stupidity isn't even in my vocabulary. I don't even know what it means because I'm not smart. I'm talking to me and just, and so it obviously isn't. Hey, Jay, it looks like
yeah, we just had stuff we had to finish before she's over her. That's thank you. Yeah, you know.
Huh?
Don't worry about it. If you
They're forgotten chocolate. That's a tough L name.
Okay, so we just got one more, and then when Jennifer's done, the rest of the period is yours. So if you can, try to pay attention, and if you have questions, comments, things like that, or just hold off, and she'll give you an opportunity to say things.
All right, so my presentation was on chapter 27.4, Defenses Against Infection.
Oh, yeah.
So my topic questions is, what are the body's non-specific defenses? What is the function of the immune system's specific defenses? What does recognizing quote-unquote self mean? What is an antigen? What is an antibody? What is an antibiotic? What do B cells or lymphocytes do? Or what does T cells, lymphocytes do? And what do plasma cells do? Does anyone know the answer to that? To those, any questions? No? Dang it.
What happened?
That's the video I did on Quick Play.
Okay, is it not showing?
It is.
Maybe you could skip the video. Or can you get out? Let me pull it away for a minute and I'll try to get out.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay. We're gonna go after some of the topic. We'll come back to that. What are the body's non-specific defenses? Anyone know the answer to that one? Yes? Miracle? So this one answers the question more than non-specific defenses. And the answer to that question is the skin, mucous membranes, the DNA, or the stomach acid. Here's another example of basically what it answers. And the last one, this is the overall and what it explains. So the first line of defense is the skin, mucous membranes, and the secretion of the skin. The second line is the phagocytic cell, blood cells, and the inflammatory response. What is the function of the immune system's specific defenses? So there are barriers of different specific defenses. There's this difference between non-specific and specific. And so basically what it, so the second line, which explains what I went over about, and that's the specific, and there's non-specific is the first line of it. What does recognizing self mean? So recognizing self is basically what the body does. It knows the difference. So they're identifying self and identifying non-self. So a self marker, I can't read it because the screen is very blurry.
Yeah, I don't even have it up on mine, so.
Okay. Which a self marker labels the body cells at a trend and accelerated by the immune system, while an antigen is a molecule that the immune system recognizes as foreign, quote unquote, no self, and treats as foreign. And here's another picture which explains as well. So 3 questions on this slide is what is an antigen, what is an antibody, and what is an antibiotic? Anyone knows or heard of those before? You have? Anyone else? No? So I found a picture and it explains more about it, which is an antibody is a protein produced by immune system in response to presence of an antigen. So in the graph explores what an image of the antigen. So that antigen hooks up with the antibody. Now an antigen, as we see right here, is an antigen is a substance that induces the formation of antibodies because it is recognized by the immune system as a threat. And the antibiotics could be used medicines used to treat infections that are caused by bacteria. So if you get sick or get flu or colds, you can use antibiotics. So when you get sick, an antibody forms in the body and it basically, quote unquote, remembers it. So for example, if you had COVID over the past few years, your body has created an antibody, which is quote unquote, again, it remembered it. And so when that comes in again, the antibodies will kick in and hit the butt and attack it. And like we watched in Osmosis Jones, it basically explains what the antibody does. And what do B cells, lymphocytes do? So there is a difference between a B cell and a T cell. So here is a what the antibody and the T cell does. So the B cell will hook up with the antibody, but with that it cannot bind with it. So the B cell receptor will move on to the chemical signal, which the helper T cell will connect to the chemical signal. And then when those two come in together, they will release antibodies into the human body. So this is what it does. This is the memory B cell. Like I said, it remembers of what it does. So we have the virus here, we have the antigen, then we have the B cell, and then that B cell will form into another B cell, which turns into a lymphocyte, and then they'll move down to the B cell, which turns into a plasma cell, which moves to an antibody, and then overall here, it will move to a memory B cell. And so here's a more example, which the attack invaders outside the cells, so outside the human body, which the B cells, that's what the B cells do. So here again, this is the T cell, and what T cells do is they attack infected cells, which is the T cells are receptive, and plus the T cell recognizes the pathogen outside the body, which is displayed on the surface of an antigen presenting cell. So the helper T cell, so basically the B cell and the T cell help with each other to fight it. So last question is, what do plasma cells do? So plasma cell, this is a picture, so you got the cytoplasm. So basically a plasma cell is just a cell, and every cell has a nucleus, whether it's a plant cell or an animal cell. So B cells and plasma cells do have something in common. Here is another example. Have you guys seen cells before when you guys did it in biology? Where they have you draw a cell and you have to label it one by one, which one's which? Oh yeah, you guys know biology. You'll know about it. So B cells. So B cells are lymphocytes not processed by the thymus glands and responsible for producing antibodies. But while plasma cells, they are fully differentiated by B cells or lymphocyte, which produces a single type of antibody. So several types of native B cells are plasmablast memory B cells and plasma cells, which a type of activated B cell for a plasma cell. Now the B cells serve as an antigen, while a plasma cell is mostly functioning is to secrete antibodies. And other types of B cells can proliferate, and plasma cells do not. So the answers to the questions I had at the beginning. So the question was, what is a nonspecific cell? And the answer is, nonspecific defensive mechanics include the skin, mucous membranes, secretions, excretions, enzymes, inflammatory responses, genetic factors, hormonal responses, nutritional status, behavior patterns, and the presence of other diseases. Now, the next question is, what is a specific defense? Which is acquired immunity is also called specific immunity because it tailors its attack to a specific antigen previously encountered. Its hallmarks are its ability to learn, adapt, and remember. So here are more. Actually, let me go look back because I believe I have the questions. Okay, here we go. So number 3 was, what does recognizing quote-unquote self means? So the process by which the immune system of an organism distinguishes between the body's own chemicals, cells, and tissues, and those of foreign organisms and agents. Number 4 was, what is an antibody, what is an antigen, and what is an antibiotic? Any substance that causes the body to make an immune response against that substance. Antigens includes toxins, chemicals, bacteria, viruses, or other known substances that come from outside the body. So an antibody, also known as immunoglobulin, is a large-shaped protein used by the immune system to identify and neutralize foreign objects, such as pathogenic bacteria and viruses. The antibody recognizes a unique molecule of a pathogen called an antigen. An antibiotic is a type of antimicrobial substance active against bacteria. It is the most important type of antibacterial agent for fighting bacterial infections, and antibiotic medications are widely used in the treatment and prevention of such infections. The next question is, what do B cells or lymphocytes do? So B lymphocytes, also called B cells, create a type of protein called an antibody. These antibodies bind to pathogens or to foreign substances such as toxins, neutralize them. For example, an antibody can bind to a virus, which prevents it from entering a normal cell and causing infection. So number 6 was, what do T cells or lymphocytes do? T cells determine the specificity of immune response to antigens or foreign substances in the human body. The last question is, what do plasma cells do? Anyone knows that? Or basically it's later. Yeah. Okay. Plasma cells are differentiated by B lymphocyte white blood cells capable of secreting immune globulin or antibody. These cells play a significant role in the adaptive immune response, namely being the main cells responsible for humoral immunity. So if we go, it take a while. Alright, so here's the summary of what it was. So the topic discusses about what our bodies can and cannot do. For example, natural barriers include the skin, the mucous membranes, tears, earwax, mucus, and stomach acid. Also, the normal flow of urine washes out microorganisms that enter the urinary tract to identify and eliminate organisms that get through the body's natural barriers. That's it.
So what do you think? Questions or comments for Jennifer? Anything you noticed? Yes.
The presentation.
The what?
The presentation was good.
What? Hmm?
Because everything made sense, I guess.
Did you understand everything?
Yeah.
Okay. I've been teaching it for a while. The subject she had, you can't really teach it in 15 minutes, right? I mean, there's a lot going on with all the different cells, involved in the immune system, and antigen, antibody, antibiotic, those terms are, it's easy to jumble them up and get them all mixed up in your head. So definitely credit, because you had a tough subject. That was not an easy one. Daniel, do you have something?
I also remembered some what I learned in biology as well.
Okay.
I'd say it's way better because they actually.
Yeah, let's not try to compare. Just what did you like about this one? Can you try to get out?
I understood it more because she explained the pictures.
A little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's a good comment. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
I would say, with both presentations and with almost any presentation, practice is key. If you felt, either one of you, like you were at a point where you're like, I'm not completely understanding this, not sure what to say here, both those things can be cleared up by just thinking ahead, going through it, practicing. In either case, I think some of it was the term winging it. And as a teacher, I can say that I've had to wing it several times, and a couple times I've been caught doing it. A student asks a good question, you get to something where you can't explain it very well. It's a bad feeling, and the only way to fix it is to practice ahead of time. Get it in your head what you're going to say. Go through each slide. I'm going to say this, I'm going to say this. This picture is really difficult to understand. I'm not even going to go after it. I'm just going to leave that picture alone and talk about the ones that are a little bit easier to understand. And then you also have to remember that your audience, this is the first time they've seen it. So if you've had to go through and look at that picture several times to figure out what's going on, they're not going to just look at it and go, oh, I get it. you explaining it helps, but it's still gonna be a process. So anyway, so I would say, go light on, how deep you go into your subject as opposed to trying to dive really deep in unless you've got an audience of experts out there, But anyway, so I'll, both you guys improved your grades because you got up and you tried to do it, which is extremely difficult. And so I gotta give you credit for that, for sure. Okay, so we have a little bit of time. Does anybody have a